This conference will now be recorded.
All right, this is to help out with the 11.5 homework. I noticed that we didn't get to this section because it's not on the exam, but there are a few homework questions. So I want to make sure you guys had a fair chance to get all your problems right. So the goal here is to use to turn this into a polar equation instead of one using x's and y's. So the first thing you can realize is that x squared plus y squared, if anytime you encounter that specific phrasing, that is equal to r squared. And if we want to, we can actually take the square root of both sides and say r is, plus or minus 4. But if you look at the way they have it on the homework, let's see how they have it there. They just leave it as r squared equals the number. So we're just going to leave it the same way. Okay, so for this one, you can't do that because you have this 5 and also the y is not squared. So we're going to use the fact that x is r cosine theta squared and y is our sine theta. We're using that fact of how we converted between polar and rectangular form when we already knew the polar form. So this would be r squared cosine squared theta equals 5r sine theta. If you have r's on both sides, go ahead and divide one of them out because r has to be greater than 0. So this would be r cosine squared theta equals 5 sine theta, divided the r out. And then we'll divide over this cosine squared. So that's going to be 5 sine theta over cosine squared theta. And typically they'll want you to not leave this as a denominator. So what we do to fix that is you let one of the cosines go with the sine. So that would be a 5. Sine over cosine would be tangent. And then you'd still have a 1 over another cosine. So that's going to be secant. So this is how they have it written in the WebAssign. And then this is the last one that's kind of similar to the WebAssign. All of these kind of work the same, but this is one, like, I don't know which number it is in the homework, but it's one of them. So we let, I would go ahead and, let's see, do we want to distribute first? You can do one of two things. You can go ahead and plug in the r cosines and the r sine thetas, or you could FOIL this out first. If I FOIL it out first, that would be x squared minus 2x plus 1. So that was doing x minus 1 times x minus 1 plus y squared equals 1. We could subtract over that 1. That would be 0. We know that x squared plus y squared, I'm going to group those two together, is an r squared minus 2 times r cosine theta. We'll add the r cosine theta over because we're trying to solve for this. So 2r cosine theta. Divide both sides by r. So we have a singular r now. And this would just be that r equals 2 cosine theta. Now that seems a little bit, let me see one like that real quick. Yeah, so essentially we just get a singular number and answer. I just want to make sure we didn't do anything wrong by FOILing this out first, because normally I would have plugged it in as r cosine and r sine theta, but I find that you guys seem to do better with FOILing with the algebra. So plugging it in afterwards and changing it does not change the answer overall. Okay, so that should help you guys with that 11.5 homework.